Hi, everybody. I am so excited that you all are here. I've got Maggie Villamaria, Courtney Cooke, and Hannah Antonson. And no, you watching do not know these ladies yet, but you are going to in a few short minutes. I am Anna K. Morris. I'm a meditation, I never say that right. I'm not a meditation coach. I teach meditation sometimes, but I'm a mindset and journaling coach who needs to lay off the coffee right now because I'm pretty excited. um, because I'm excited to be with you guys because this is such a treat. And we're doing this the week, that weird week between like Christmas and New Year's, where it's all kind of like we just are like blobs, but everybody looks really good here. So if you don't feel like you look good or you don't feel good, you're faking it very well. So I just want to say that.
We showered
um,
for you.
what'd you say?
We showered for you.
Oh gosh, well that's more than I did. I did a slick back hair with some lipstick and Maggie's jewelry. Maggie's jewelry always. Oh
Well,
yeah, I should warn you, Courtney. Maggie is a jewelry maker, so get your checkbook out,
I
girl.
know.
I'm just saying.
She knows I'm a sucker for talent, so I love it. Aw.
Exactly, exactly. But Hannah, I'm doing a money class. I'm doing a money game with Hannah, so you may just be dialing it back sooner than you realized. I'm just kidding. But I wanted to have you guys on because we've all worked together over the years, specifically on journaling. And for those of you who don't know, I'm teaching a new class that I've never taught before, but I am quick to assume that people know how to journal. And what I've seen time and time again, and why I have a whole business, is that they don't know how to journal. So rather than do a 12-week program, which all of you have done with me, I've got a 4-week class that I'm now offering. It's starting January 15th, and it's the power of journaling. So that's really what we're talking about today is the power of journaling. So if we could just get started, I'd love to have Hannah, if you would start us off with what you do for a living and just maybe your experience about journaling and where it's kind of taken you in your life, in your career specifically, because I wanted you all to be here together to talk specifically about how journaling has impacted your career, whether you have, a traditional 9 to 5 job, although that's, let's face it, nobody's working 9 to 5 anymore. I wish. Or a business owner, or whatever that looks like. And Hannah, I know you're a little bit of everything.
That's right.
Yeah.
I am a little bit of everything for sure. I still call myself a health coach because that is still who I feel like I am, really from the inside out. I've always been interested in health and wellness. That's what I studied in college. And I eventually went down the route of becoming a certified health coach and starting my own business. And that was the first time that I worked with Anna doing the Artist Way, specifically 3 pages of the morning pages, specifically via Julia Cameron. Prior to that, though, I was someone who journaled very stream of consciousness, and it would be something that I would turn to specifically when I felt like I had too much going on in my head and I needed to sort through it.
Yeah.
But I never did it every day. I was not very consistent until I did the Artist Way, so back in 2020. And ever since then, I really have felt like that 3 pages really is magic. And that's where the real in-depth sort of, like Anna, you use the term nectar. I think like that's a really great way of describing it, of peeling back the layers and really seeing what's underneath it all. So for me, I became an entrepreneur in 2020. I started my own business, and that was something that I probably would not have done had I not been analyzing sort of how did I feel about it? Was I confident enough to do it? Where were my stories coming from about it? And ultimately in 2020, I launched that business. I learned so much about running a business and being a business owner.
Yeah.
And then in 2021, I decided to take some time working for someone else and doing that more 9 to 5 traditional schedule. And I found out that as a coach working for someone else, you have a lot less control over how many people you work with, who you work with to begin with, and really what the topic is that you're discussing. So in 2023, just a few months ago, is when I was laid off from that job, but it turned out to be one of the best things ever because now I get to come back to that idea of being an entrepreneur. And now I'm launching another business where I'm combining the ideas of decluttering and organizing your life with the idea of a healthy lifestyle overall. So that's me, and that's what I do.
Well, I love what you said. So I remember you got laid off in the Reconnect, which is my kind of signature program that I've always taught for 12 weeks. And I remember when you messaged me privately and you were like, so I was just laid off. And I was like, well, that's perfect. And also you totally manifested that. And there's no place better than to lose a job in one of my courses, right? Courtney, that happened with you too, or you changed jobs, or was it?
Left his job.
You
Yeah.
left a job. Yeah. Yeah. And your husband did too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I loved about that is we had just gone through a decluttering phase of what I teach, because we are so quick to think that we don't know. And it's not that we don't know. It's just that we're confused about what's ours and what's not ours.
Absolutely.
And physically cleaning out a space. I love that you really enjoyed that and now are taking that into health coaching, because it is health coaching. That's literally what I'm doing when we got off this call. I'm going and cleaning out a closet. I have 3 closets I'm cleaning out today, and I can't wait, because it just makes me feel good to like have space so that I can create new things. And I think that's what journaling really brought you, right?
Absolutely. The organizing and decluttering as a business, or even just as a side business, was something that I've been considering for several months. And because of where I was and how much I had grown already, and then being laid off while doing your group coaching program it was a launching pad for me to say like, okay, this is perfect timing in the end. I wasn't panicked. I wasn't really overly stressed. It was more approaching it with curiosity and openness. And yeah, I'm really excited.
Oh, I love that. And I have to tell you, like, when you told me, I was like waiting. I was like, is she freaking out? Like, cause I don't want to freak out. Like, I'm not freaking out, but like, is, and so I just give you so much credit that you had that consistent practice, because as you guys know, I think I've shared this in all of your programs. Like, I've worked with a lot of people who have been in my classes and never journaled. So I'm like, why do you keep showing up here and doing this? And like, that's great. You're on every weekly call, but like, you've never actually journaled. It could be so much better. So I give you so much credit for like taking that consistency for 3 years now. And really, like, the 3 pages is getting to the nectar, because it can take time to get there.
It really can. And I found that for a while I was writing every day still, or most days I would say, but not always 3 pages. And I needed to go back to that practice when I started the Reconnect, going back to that length of time, actually taking that time in the mornings with me. And it really did make a difference. I had still been journaling, but I hadn't been getting the results that I started to get when I started to journal 3 full pages again.
Yep. Amen. So let's piggyback off of that. Courtney or Maggie, who wants to jump in next?
Well, I can just chime in and say, I love that you use the word analyze, Hannah, because I think that that's what the journaling does. Is it gives you permission to just dump your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions, and nobody's going to read it. I mean, I guess they could. I'm like, there's some really interesting stuff here. If I croak one day, have fun, because I've lived a good life, right? And you would never know all the noises in the head. But it gives me a place to just dump it all out and then go back and go, what does that mean? What am I saying here? And more importantly, what should I learn from this? Like, what's the repeat occurrence that I keep saying over and over and over again that I may have just glossed over in my head? And instead, because it's on paper, I didn't even realize how prominently it was in my head. And I'll give an example. I went to therapy years ago, and with the intent of, oh, this is not okay in my life. And it was centered around work stuff at the time. And I was hoping for some guidance and stuff out of it. What ended up coming out of that those multiple therapy sessions, was work was really kind of the back item that I ended up talking about, which was ironic. And I talked about stuff that I didn't quite realize was as here. In your pages, that same thing happens. And so you're like, okay. And you can go back and you can look at it, or you can be as imperfect as you want, or even to say, I don't feel like writing today. I don't know what I'm going to write about. why am I doing this? I'm grouchy. But then by the time it was all said and done, I got it out. I said what I needed to say. And I found that it was kind of making, I don't know, just kind of setting myself the space and the love for myself to listen to myself instead of begging for somebody else to listen or paying for somebody else to listen to me. Right. I have some of those abilities built in here. But I can also say, unlike Hannah, there have been moments that I've been inconsistent with it. And like right now, I'm not as consistent as I should be. And right now I should be more than ever because there is a hella going on in my life. And so I notice when I'm not consistent with it, I notice what that happens. And I'll tell you where that consistency started going awry for me was when I had set up space like on my back patio, and it was so beautiful.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Like it was really important to me. Like I dedicated time, money, and just energy and creativity to giving myself a beautiful space to have this peace and stuff to myself every day. And then of course the weather here in Texas went insanely hot. So it was no longer enjoyable. It's too hot outside or it gets too cold or whatever. And so then I started doing it in my bed with my dog snuggled up next to me and the hairdryer blowing on us because he loves it and I love the sound. But then it wasn't mine.
Whoa, back up. You have the blow dryer blowing on you and the dogs?
Yeah, it's a thing. I even have a hairdryer on my desk right now. Like it's a fun fact that I used to hide. Now I'm like, yep, I'm a weirdo. If I need to really concentrate on something, ta-da, she comes out. Like literally, it's not about heat. It's about the noise. Everybody's like, use an app, use it. Nope, it's the combination of everything. And I will crank the air down in the house and blow that hairdryer, and I will produce some top-notch executive level stuff with that hairdryer. So I taught that.
I love it.
So I also do that when I'm doing my pages, right? So it's kind of cathartic for me. But then that was taking that away, that space from my husband in the mornings. So that may not always jive. And so other things were getting disruptive. And so I guess I'm sharing this long story to say, I think that that's really important. Hold space for it because it is a sacred practice and it is time for you and you deserve that time. And sometimes it's 15 minutes, sometimes it was 45 minutes, but why aren't you worth that? And the pages deserved my full attention, not worrying about whether the dog was comfortable or whether children or work or whatever. So I can tell things are, the hairdryer's falling, sorry. I can tell that things are not as easy as they were, or as clear. I think that would be the word, not
as
easy.
Clear.
Yeah.
They're easy.
Has taught me words matter. Word choice matters. They were not as clear as they were when I was doing that. So I don't know.
Well,
Maggie, did you kind of feel some of that too? Like, I don't know.
Wait, what'd you say?
I was just like, I don't know if any of that resonates with Maggie or, like.
Well, I mean, I've shared this, I think, with all of you, but, not everybody who's listened. When I didn't hire a journaling coach. Like I've never even referred to myself as a journaling coach. It's just that I realized in this past year, I'm like, well, that's all I really want people to leave with, because I don't want you to have to always hire me to help you or hire a therapist or go to coach, whatever. Like I want you to have a tool so that when, shit's going wrong, you can get into your page right now. You don't have to wait to like book a session or whatever, have the money or whatever it is, right? Like you need a pen and a piece of paper, go. And so I think it's like the most valuable tool, but I came to journaling in 2008 because I didn't like my job. It actually came from my career. And I hired an executive business coach who, unbeknownst to me, taught me how to journal over the next 6 months and told me if I didn't journal 3 pages every single morning, I owed her $10,000. Oh. Now to this day, she's like, Anna, I didn't ever do that. Like that $10,000 that like you think that you owed me if you didn't write for 6 months. I think you made that up. And I'm like, well, that sounds like something I would do. Like I would, because I needed like some skin in the game, right? To get consistent. But it was that consistency. I can remember like journaling that 3rd page, like up until like 11:59 at night to like get it done. But that was what built the muscle. And then there are times that I've fallen off too, Courtney, and I can just look at like, whoa, this doesn't feel as good. So all there is to do is just grab a book and start writing again. It's always there.
Failure. There's no There's no grade that's coming in after this class. There's it's like you said, it's a skill, and you taught a skill that I can use, I should use, and I love using when I'm disciplined enough to do it. But I also know that it took some time to establish that as a habit and to build that muscle memory to even get into that practice. But then it also took some time to reflect, analyze, Hannah's word, on what was the payoff. And so it's kind of like going on a diet. I hate the word diet, but whatever, right? You change your lifestyle, you do whatever, and you start to see the results, or you start to build some muscle by going to the gym. It's the same thing. You're building muscle memory through these habits.
Well, I love that. And I want to throw it over to Maggie and I would love to hear your take on this, Maggie, because we just finished our first ever coaching program together, and like what it was like before and after. Because here's the thing, this is what has people keep journaling, is when you have results, right? What I love about journaling is that like it's all action. So the more I journal and get things down on the page and then go do them in my life, the more I want to journal, because my life starts working and it feels good. And then you keep going. So I want to know from Maggie, like, what's your experience been like before and after?
So I think Hannah knows this, and I've said this in the class, but I have journaled since I was like 18, but in a Bible study format. So
Yeah.
We're from the Bible Belt area, and your spiritual practice is something that you have to do. And it's like you read your Bible and you pray to God. And I remember my journals before the class were often like, it was always like, God, how do I serve you? Like, what's the best use of my talents? But I never was taking that next step to like really dive into, okay, so I think this is how I align, like my soul aligns spiritually with God. These are my gifts, but like, what am I going to do about them? And like, how do I use them? And so it's just like, sometimes I can't even put words to it, because as an artist, like we are already so in tune with our emotions and how we feel. But for me, before I started journaling in your way, Anna, I just wasn't as aware, I guess, of like the words weren't on the page. Like, Maggie, this is how you feel. This is what you're going through. Like I had the creative practice of painting where you're like, okay, I feel sad today. How does that relate to this painting? But when you put actual words to it, it's so much different.
Hey, Maggie.
To what you're going through,
Sorry, it was just cutting out.
Am I breaking up?
Yeah.
Could you say that again? I mean, the way that it's the practice of your style of journaling has allowed me to like bear witness to myself and put in words exactly what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, and like really actually just feel these things, feel them. Because I think for a long time in my, I've lived part-time in New York, and a lot of that I realized myself is like numbing. We like are in the city and everything's just so loud and there's all this movement. Yeah. What was that? Yeah, in New York.
Out a little bit when living in New York is like a numbing out.
Yes. And so the practice of journaling really brings you back. Yep. You don't have to think about what that person over there is doing and what that person's career looks like. You can really sit down and be like, it's okay wherever I'm at. Like I might not be where I want to be, and that's okay. Yeah. So it's really like made me more accountable. It's made my creative practice much more like exposed. Like I really am more aware of what I'm feeling, which your emotions and your feeling are what drives your creative practice and your point of view. So it's changed my life. Long story short.
It's changed my life. Well, I have to say, I love what you said, because I also lived in New York at around the same time that you did, like in my life, right? So from 21 to 32. And when I started journaling, I was like 28, 29. You're 28, right? 29, something like that. Yeah.
28.
And it wasn't long before I left New York, because I was like, I think I'm numb. And that's such a great term that you
Or like
use.
distraction, you know, it's just distraction.
And we do it in different ways. Like, so those of you that are watching are like, well, I don't live in New York. You're doing it. I'm sorry. We're doing it in different ways, right? You're like so busy. Like, I love when people come to me and they're like, well, I have kids. And I'm like, welcome to my world. Like, yeah, so do I. They sound like they're going to burn the house down every single morning if I don't journal before they wake up. So like, I have a real goal. You know, I quit drinking this year, not because I'm an alcoholic, but because I needed to not drink wine so I could go to bed earlier, so I could get up earlier, so I could journal and not be a hypocrite. Right? Like, it's all, and then to have my life work, because it's better when I get the stuff out on the pages. And the reason it's the 3 pages, and I think this is what you're pointing to, Maggie, is that it is about that relationship with God. I'm not using the Bible to teach it. I'm asking you to get through those feelings so that you can see the unconditional love that's at the end of the pages. It's the nectar, right? But you have to fatigue the ego. You have to get it tired. You have to get it, you have to question it enough, exhausted enough to finally be like, you know, I love you anyway. And when you start writing that, right, that true self, false self, that's worth it every single day. I'm like, yep, that was worth it. And oftentimes it's the last sentence on the page. And I'm like, I did it just for that sentence.
Yep.
You know, Anna, I would love to tack on to that. One of the things that I've struggled with personally for a long time is the confidence, which most people that know me are shocked when they hear that. They're just like, there's no way. I'm often referred to as like the firecracker at like when I go to trade shows and conferences and in my industry. But I was also realized that I was in this space where I was a little insecure with where I was professionally as well. And I don't have children. I have built so much of who I am around what I was doing professionally and who I was professionally and what my accomplishments were. That doesn't mean money per se. It means that I'm a contributing member to something. I love that. I love building something and building teams and building people. And so with all that being said, it was one of those things that I was like, am I enough? Am I enough? And like, I was questioning, am I enough in my marriage? Am I enough in everything? Right.
Everything.
And so I started every single thing. Like, it just trickles in. So the last thing that I put, and I started this, I want to say like my first, second, third time of writing. I guess I could go back and look at my journal, but I ended every single third page with, I love you and you are enough. You are enough. And I was talking to myself. I was talking to myself, and y'all, by the time there goes the Texas y'all, by the time we finished the 12-week program, I believed it. Like, I know now, like, I am enough. And I've even said that to people. I have much different conversations, professionally, personally, and even with myself, where I go, I don't have to put up with this, or it's okay for me to ask these questions. I need to be able to ask these questions. This is not out of line. When you don't feel like you're enough, in whatever venue it is,
you second guess yourself.
You play small. And I was tired of playing small because I knew that this was meant for bigger. And so those words do matter so much. And even if I didn't believe it the first time I wrote it, I was like, I remember you coached us, like, what would you say to little Courtney, the little girl that's in there? What would you say to her? I'm like, I would tell her, damn it, you're enough. Damn, you're going to do awesome stuff. Right. And so it's, I didn't fully believe it, but I was telling little Courtney that. And then now grown Courtney knows. She knows that.
Well, and it's about that muscle, right? It really is about that muscle. So I get really caught up, and so you're ending yours with, I love you, you are enough. And I want to know what Hannah's and Maggie's is too. But for me, I had this yoga teacher, and this was right around the time I started journaling. And I can remember it was like a forward fold, like sitting down on the floor, and he had me all the way down. I think my chest was down on the ground, laying on top of me. And I'll never forget this teacher who's like a really controversial teacher. And I loved him because that worked for me. He ruffled a lot of feathers, which I like ruffling feathers. So yeah. And he whispered in my ear, and he said, like, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm always with you. And that was God. And so when I have felt so incredibly alone, those are the words in my pages that I'm like, okay, if you're with me, then I think I can do this, right? Like, it was like the thing I needed to hear, you know? And it's the thing I end all of my pages with, is I'm with you, right? I'm always with you. So then I can be brave. Yeah. Because even though I'm alone, I'm also never alone, right? So I'm curious, Hannah, do you have a saying that has popped up?
So I don't have anything that I do over and over and over again. I sort of go with whatever comes up with for me for the day. But there was something that really resonated that goes along with all of this that Maggie had said about sort of getting distracted or sort of looking at other people. And I think that's something that journaling is so good at. And Courtney, you said clarity or things feeling clear. Like the answers, and Anna, you say this too. Everybody says this.
I was like, I know exactly where you're going. Yeah.
Like the answers are not out there. They aren't. And when we turn inward and give ourselves the opportunity to just listen to what we actually feel and think, that's where that clarity comes from.
Yeah.
And especially as an entrepreneur and as a female artist, you know, Maggie, I'm sure you feel this way all the time. It's just, you question yourself a lot. And that's what the pages are to me, is just reconnecting with my inner knowing and my inner voice. And I don't have a spiritual practice per se. I did not grow up with a spiritual practice. So I don't relate as much to sort of using the terminology God, but for me, it's the universe. It's the magic of the universe. It's the connection that we all actually truly feel if we slow down and listen for it. So that's really what my pages are. I don't necessarily end everything with a phrase, but it's how I reconnect and listen to my inner voice.
Well, and I love that because I've had people have so many different kinds of experiences, Hannah. And some people are like the universe, and that really resonates in my inner knowing. And that very much was how I approached it, because even though Maggie, you and I grew up in the same area, I did not grow up religious. In fact, I stopped going to church when I was told that my Jewish friends would go to hell. I was like, you know what? I don't think that this is the place for me. And so I really it took me a long time to be able to use the word God. And I'm even careful that I say it in a coaching, because people in a coaching conversation, because people have such loaded histories, right? But what I have heard from people time and time again is that they feel a connection to God, or they feel a connection to something, right? Insert the word for like the universe, nature. Like I feel connected with God when I look at the trees and go for a walk and notice the colors. And how could I not be creative when whoever or whatever made all of this was so creative? There's like a million shades of green that I'm looking at my window right now. It's like, who wouldn't want me to be creative? Like, look at all this crazy stuff. Look at ladybugs. Who made that up? Right? Scorpions, they're crazy. Just all the different things. It's so much fun to approach life from somebody was having a blast. Somebody was just having a blast making all this up. Dinosaurs, that's crazy. I don't even know. Just wild. So how about for you, Maggie? Do you have anything that's kind of shown up in your pages that's been a little consistent? And then we'll wrap up, because we could be on this forever. I'll have to stop us.
I guess I can keep going off of what you're saying, Anna, but and Hannah said this earlier, like there's no word to put on it except for magic. Like, just I feel like in my pages a lot I see either whether it's God or the universe. I think it all is
Magic.
somehow working together. It's always like, okay, Maggie, these things are for you. Like God is for you, the universe is for you. And when you just let your guard down and stop standing in your own way and, being that barrier to everything that the universe is trying to pour into you and bring out of you, just magic happens.
Yeah. That's literally like the mic drop. I'm like, there you go. And there's journaling. It's magic. Like I don't know if y'all can hear my boys yelling outside the door right now. I didn't know I wanted kids. I actually knew I didn't want kids. I also didn't want to get married. I did not want to live I didn't want any of the things that I now have that are that are my whole life. And I only found out in my pages because I was so busy looking at outside and not inside. And it's an inside job. And that's what journaling really is, so that the magic can show up. And the magic is in the most shocking places. Like really, truly. So just like I'm listening to them, I'm like, they're the magic. I just don't even know. Like, right? So.
Well, and what's so crazy is like you're getting on this call and then Hannah hearing about what you do. Like I'm doing the same thing. Literally yesterday, Mark and I, we spent some great time together yesterday, and we're like, you know what, we really just need to go through our house and make space. Like we need to. My mom has been sick lately, and so we turned one of our offices back into a bedroom, and like we're doing all this stuff. But that has created this. Let's get rid of. Why do we have so much crap in here? Like why? And that has felt so cleansing. So for you to come on, like when you started talking about what you've done since you and I last connected, like I got the goosies because I'm like, whoa, this isn't even like New Year's Eve or New Year's going to the gym thing. This is clearing space right here thing. You know what I mean? So I love it.
Oh,
and congratulations. I'm proud of you. And Maggie, I'm so excited for you too. And I have no idea why my Zoom is acting weird, but there we go.
Part of me, I know you want to end Anna, but part of me, and this is probably just a side note for me and Hannah to talk about, part of me has thought how Hannah's last months would have been if she wasn't in this course journaling, like after getting let go.
Yeah.
You always wonder like what, because you have just such a like quiet confidence to you.
Thank you.
And I'm like, is it the journaling or is this just how she is? But I'm like, you're just so in touch with yourself.
Thank you.
I don't know.
I wonder the same exact thing and I think it is really relevant to say, if I had not had this support of the Reconnect group and of already reestablishing the 3 morning pages, I guarantee you I would not be where I am right now. And even if I would have maybe eventually gotten there, I wouldn't be feeling as good about it. I wouldn't be embracing it with that curiosity, that playfulness that is really what I want to instill in my life moving forward. And so I can guarantee I would not be in the same place if I had not been doing the journaling or in the group.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to say, like, none of this is hard.
No.
It's all very, very simple. It is not easy. I won't say it's easy. It's not easy. It is simple though. And what it takes is showing up. And you listened to that little knowing, Hannah, of like, Hannah and I met, by the way, at like, from dog walking, or from like, were you our neighbor that you were like walking a dog? And I probably was like, do you walk dogs?
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Like, and Maggie, like I met you at a jewelry thing that I didn't want to go to because I didn't want to have some person sell me some damn jewelry when I'm going to just have wine. And I was like, well, but I really like Sandra. That's really rude. Like, I'll just go and I'll just ignore the girl with the jewelry. And then I walked in, I was like, well, she's okay. That's not going to work. And then I just bought your jewelry. I was like, let's be in touch forever. Right.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Courtney, we went to a wedding that we were like, oh, we really shouldn't go to this wedding. I don't think we're going to go to this wedding. And then you were there and I was like, well, I'm so glad we went to this wedding.
Yeah, COVID shut down the world
Yeah,
literally the next day.
Yeah,
And so I
COVID was the
like,
next.
I
Yeah.
met a magician at that wedding that
It was-
just posted something about something, and I'm miserable at work, so let's do this. And you know, and I'll never forget calling Anna in Austin when I started with the company that I'm with now. I left my prior company, obviously, and I called her, and she was like, I knew something was going on, and I said, I'm literally in my first week, and I'm walking down the streets of Austin. I'm like, this wouldn't have happened without you, without having met you, without the work that I did, without the partners that I did it with, and everything else. And the last thing that I just want to add on is what I love about the journaling is when you say it's simple. It's also, there's no rules. And so there's so many things that you have to go in and you have to follow all these rules. This is your damn space to play. You create whatever you need and want, and you can say screw everything else. Like that, we don't get to do that very much in life, but it's all for you. Ta-da.
It's
like,
all for you.
Congratulations. Tell me that you don't have time for that. So if the goal of all this, I think we all know it's to help educate people on what that time investment will do, and how just learning how to make that time investment. I mean, we're four badass women that are sitting here doing this, and you're going to have more badass women talking about this. And I don't know. I know confidently I wouldn't be where I am today had I not done this. And I feel like I hear the same from all of you. I know that I do. And so kudos to us. Why wouldn't somebody? Just why wouldn't you? So thank you.
Well, and I'll just thank you guys. I love you so much. I love all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the power of journaling is 4 weeks, but we've also talked a lot about the Reconnect, which is my 12-week program. So that's going to be February 19th. I'm going to start a new Reconnect group. I take a little bit of time off because, as you all know, it is 3 months of like all in. And so I have to also be clear about like my like rejuvenation, right? Because I hold space for you guys, like going through so many things like divorces, job changes, babies, no babies, like all the things. And that's what I love about journaling is that like, it's taught me, okay, that's great. And also like, I don't like back to back, like I need a minute, you know? And so, if somebody wants to dive deep and like really get that habit, then the Reconnect is really where it's at. Right. And you learn journaling, and I kind of feel like I should rename it like the whole shebang. Like it's like, but if people just want to start slow, then 4 weeks is Power to Journal. And that's going to start January 15th. So thank you guys so much. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's stop.
Congratulations.
Yay.